Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
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 Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha, Radha Kanta Radha, Radha Kanta Radhe.
Jaya Radha, Radha Kanta Radha, Radha Kanta Radhe.
Jayo Yashodanandan, Jayo Damodara, Jayo Yashodanandan, Jayo Damodara.
Jaya Lakshmi Jaya Damodara, Jaya Lakshmi Jaya Damodara.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nita Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nita Gaura Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Shri Harnam Sankirtan ki jai,
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudire. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Study from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, text number 6, 7 and 8. Please repeat. Sutam Videkam Vapusha Grashantam Drishtva Suna Onmatitam Daritraya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Tat Antaha Puram Abhivesha Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grashantam Drishtva Shunavon Matitam Daritraya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Tadanta Puramavivesha Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grashantam Drishtva Shunavon Matitam Daritraya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Tat Antapuram Avivesha Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grashantam Drishtva Shunavon Matitam Daritraya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Tadantapuramavishesha
Sutam Hridekam Vapusa Grashantam Drishva Sunabo Mati Tam Daritya Amantritas Tattanayaya Sesham Tattva Taranta Puramavishesha
Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grashantam Vishva Sunabhon Matitam Daritya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Taranta Puramavishesha
Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grashantam Drishtva Sunabo Maritam Daritya Amantritas Tattanayaya Shesham Tattva Taranta Puramavishesha Sutam Hridekam Vapusa Sakrashtam Drisva Sunabo Matitam Daritrya Amantritastat Tanayaya Shesham Tatva Taranta Purama Vishesha Sutam Ridekam Babusagrasantam Drisvasunavo Maditam Daritya Amantritastat Tanayaya Shesham Tatva Taranta Pura Avishesha.
Does anyone know what happened to Prabhupada's Bhagavatam?
Prabhupada what?
Bhagavatam.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narakasura, and thus Lord entered the house of the demon. Please repeat. Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky.
Tried to grasp the whole sky.
And for this, he was killed by the Lord in a fight.
He was killed by the Lord in a fight.
His mother then prayed to the Lord.
Had prayed to the Lord.
This led to the return
of the kingdom
to the son of Narakasura. And thus the Lord entered the house of the demon. Also try to read the 7th and 8th verse.
I don't think that the mic is on, but I don't know if you need it, so.
Is that?
It doesn't sound like the mic is on, you can touch it.
No, it's not on. It should be fine. Excuse me. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. Divine purports by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. It is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Daritri, the earth, by the Lord himself, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon. It is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always a criterion of goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamakyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatripatmam Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tattakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Haripe Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So from the beginning of this chapter, we are seeing how Uddhava is recollecting Lord Krishna's different pastimes, especially how he goes and saves different ladies who later would become his queens. So we saw about starting with Rukmini, starting with Rukmini, the daughter of Bhishmaka. Then we also saw Nagnajiti, daughter of Nagnajit. So she was also won in a Swayamvara, or the competition for the marriage of the princess. And now we're talking about that there's also mention of Satyabhama. So Satyabhama is happens to be the daughter of the the resident of Dwarka. Do we know his name? Anybody know his name? What is her father's name? So her father got a boon from Lord Surya, and that jewel would actually bring forth tons of gold every day. Satyajit, yes, thank you. Satyajit, yes. So Satyajit's daughter was Satyabhama. So Satyajit initially thought that the jewel was taken by Krishna. So but Krishna went around and then found the jewel from the cave of the Jambu, thank you. So then he retrieved that jewel, then gave back to Satyajit. So Satyajit was very ashamed, and he was because he was blaming Krishna for that. So he decided to settle the matter by giving his daughter Satyabhama to Krishna as in marriage. Satyabhama was also became a queen of Krishna. So there are 8 principal queens, as it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So 3 of them are already listed here: Rukmani, then we saw Nagnajiti. The sequence is Rukmani, then Satyabhama, then Jambavati. First it is Jambavati, then Satyabhama, and then 4th one is Kalindi, Yamuna. So Yamuna also marries Lord Krishna. This happens when Krishna and Arjuna, they are there in the Kandava Prasth. They are trying to destroy the forest of Kandava forest. And that time Kalindi, she comes and then she offers herself. That she actually, Arjuna goes and inquires, "Who are you?" Then she says, "Actually, I am the river Yamuna, and I am waiting to marry Lord Vishnu, and I have been doing austerities in this particular place." And then Arjuna says, "Vishnu is here, is Krishna." And she comes and she proposes, and then Lord Krishna marries her. And that's how Kalindi also becomes a wife of Krishna. And then those are the 4 main queens. Then comes Nagnajiti, daughter of Nagnajit.
How come I've never heard of her? I mean,
Is that Krishna?
it's just that name just doesn't ring a bell.
Nagnajiti?
Yeah.
That used to be Navadvik's name. Of course,
Okay.
she's an initiation.
Is there another name that she's known by, or is it
This is
always
the
that?
name in Krishna book also.
Oh, okay.
I've
Lord
never
Krishna
heard
goes
anything
and-
about that one.
I mean, for one of the top queens, it just didn't sound that familiar.
Yeah, right.
Just one of the stories in Krishna book.
Okay.
But
Which
she
story?
happens
What's
to
the
be the
story
8
is that we
queens,
heard?
principal queens.
What is that the story with the 7 bowls?
Yes.
Oh, she does have another name, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, in the book. She does.
So that is
Navadvika?
Nagnajiti?
Nagnajiti. So her father keeps the competition for Swayamvara, that any prince who comes and who binds all the bulls or bridles the bull with all the bulls, they get to marry her. So but no prince is able to do that. They all come, they are defeated, and he becomes a little morose. How am I going to get my daughter married now that I made a proposal like this? So then Krishna comes to the rescue. And then he never thinks Krishna has come to marry his daughter. He receives him, and then he gives all the respects and things. And then when Krishna comes to know, okay, this is the situation, then Krishna also says, okay, I'm going to do this. And he becomes very happy that the Supreme Lord himself is going to become his son-in-law. So she is born like that, and she is married. So after Nagnajiti gets married, so then there are 3 other queens. So one of them is the Bhadra, and Bhadra happens to be cousin of Krishna also. And then there is Lakshmana. There's another queen with the name Lakshmana. These things doesn't come in Krishna book.
Lakshmana.
Lakshmana.
Is that?
The A there is
Is that the daughter of? That could be. The
that's
daughter.
another Lakshmana,
Okay.
the daughter of Duryodhana.
Yeah.
whom the grandson of Krishna kidnaps. So that's a different story, but this is a different Lakshmana. And she's also called Madri. So she is actually a daughter, princess of the Madra, the kingdom of Madra. And then comes after Bhadra, the Lakshmana, and there is Mitra Vidya, and there is one more queen by the name, forgot the last queen's name. So these 8 queens are called the 8 principal queens of Krishna. Of course, then this story now we will talk about Narakasura. So that explains how he got 16,000 other queens. Right? So it's a very, very beautiful story actually. And then it is also said here in the Bhagavatam verse that Narakasura was the son of who?
Raha and Bhoma. Are you
Yeah.
talking about Bhaumasura?
Yes, Bhaumasura and Narakasura, both of them are same.
Yeah.
So Bhauma also means Bhumi. Bhumi's son is Bhauma. And Narakasura means because he controlled all the planets from Naraka all the way to the top. So he was called Narakasura. That's why he's also in Bhagavatam in this verse it says that he was grasping the whole sky, which means that he had controlled all 3 planetary systems. The lower, the middle, the upper planetary systems. All 3 were controlled by him. So he also was an son, although being son of Supreme Lord himself, coming as Varahadev and Mother Bhumi or Mother Earth. So he was although born out of the Supreme Person, so but he turned out to be demon. That's a very, very interesting observation. That somebody can be the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but yet, if he is not proper association, if he is not in proper guidance, they can also turn out to be a demon. So it can also happen, the son of a demon can become a great devotee, like Prahlad Maharaj. But can also, the other opposite can also happen. So association is most important. In the case of Prahlad, he had the great fortune of having Narada Muni's association in the very beginning. But of course he was blessed to be a great devotee. Even before he was even, his father was conceived. So his father was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So that time Kapila and Diti, so they had this conception of this, the time Diti was very, she was not happy about the way it happened, that they actually got together in a very wrong time. So then she pleaded with her husband that this happened and I was come out of my control. So then what should I do then? So he said, since you are repentant about this, then I'm going to make sure that the grandsons of yours will be great devotees. At least one of the grandsons, Prahlad Maharaj, will be a great devotee. So even before he was even conceived, he was already known to be a great devotee. That's when Narada Muni, he stopped Indra from kidnapping the wife of Hiranyakashipu, and he was intending to kidnap her and kill her child in the womb also. That was his intention, because he was thinking that Hiranyakashipu is a very big demon, a very dangerous demon, and his son is going to be even a bigger demon. So let me at least do away with both of them, so that way his post can be saved. He was very selfish in that way. He was ready to commit a very heinous crime. But Narada Muni intervened. He stopped Indra from doing any such act, and then he took the pregnant Kayadu to his ashram, and then eventually in course of time Prahlada was born. But before even he was born, Narada Muni used to instruct him in the womb. He was already known to be a devotee, but he further instructed him in the womb, and then he heard everything while being in the womb, while his mother was actually sleeping. But Narada Muni was talking to the womb, the child in the womb. But here is a case where, although being born from Krishna or Varaha and Bhumi, he still fell into a wrong association. So Prabhupada also says here that he had association of Banasura. Banasura was known to be another great demon. He also is there referred in the Bhagavata Krishna book. So he was a very arrogant demon. And it so happens that his daughter fell in love with one of the grandsons of Krishna. And then she kidnaps him, and then they both become. When Banasura knows about this, then he becomes very angry. He puts them in prison. Then Krishna and Balram, they come to fight with Banasura. So, but the fight ensues, goes on for a long, long time, because Banasura is one who has thousands of hands, and he was attacking the whole army of Krishna and Balram, and so Krishna cut off all his arms. So that's the story of Banasura. And this Banasura was extremely proud and arrogant because he had the boon from Lord Shiva, that he will come to protect him whenever he's in danger. So he was very arrogant. Of course, by himself he was very powerful, but he was very arrogant because of this boon. He thought nobody could conquer him. So with association of such a demon, so Narakasura also became a very powerful demon. And he in fact became very powerful by the boon of Brahma. So he did a lot of penance for many, many years, just like Hiranyakashipu. And he wanted a boon to become immortal. But Brahma said, I cannot make anybody immortal. So he thought, and then he thought for a while, and then he said, at least give me a boon that I will not be killed by anyone except my mother. So that was his boon. And Brahma said, okay, take it as you like. And then he disappears. So become extremely arrogant and powerful. And then he amasses a huge army. He goes on to conquer subjugate all the kings on the earthly planet, and he stops all the yajna, and then he does all these heinous crimes against the Vaishnavas, the devotees, the rishis, and all the powerless, even women and children. So many atrocities he commits. And then he goes on to the heavenly planets, and all the demigods, they all vanish. So in fear of Narakasura, then he goes and steals the earrings of the mother of Indra, namely Aditi. So he steals that, and he also takes the few other things, Varuna's umbrella or something. So a few things he carries back to the earthly planet. And then he's it's a place called Pragya Jyotishpura. So very special place, and it is very protected by so many different layers of protections there. There's protection of poisonous gas, there's electric wires are laid around. Nobody can even enter into that Pragya Jyotishpura. And even if it is somebody enters into that, they have to face the commander-in-chief of Narakasura. His name was Mura. So Mura the name is very popular. We know Murari. Krishna's one name called Murari. So that comes from the demon Mura. So this Mura is guarding that whole kingdom. And then even if somebody kills, then they have to face Narakasura himself. So Narakasura is completely emboldened. Nobody can kill me because I can only be killed by my mother. And my mother is Earth planet. So where is she going to come and where is she going to kill me? So that's what she was thinking. But the Earth planet already had appealed to Lord Vishnu at the very beginning, so that Lord Krishna will appear and kill all the enemical kings and also these demons who are there still there. The demons are conspicuous by their absence in Dwapara Yuga. They are more prominent in the Treta Yuga. But Dwapara Yuga is the age of the irreligious kings. But sometimes they align with these demons. They are still there, but not so visible, and they are there in their own different places. When they are summoned, they come there, just like Kamsa called all these demons, and he tried to kill Krishna. But that's actually the age of the Dwapara Yuga is mostly to do with the kings, very irreligious kings like Duryodhana and so on and so forth. So then Narakasura, he's well protected, and what he does, he goes and kidnaps all the princesses in the kingdoms, and then he comes and imprisons them. So almost 16,000 of them actually are caught, and then they were imprisoned, and they were kept captive by Narakasura, and they were always praying for Krishna to come and save them. So they were always because they had no other choice, they had no other option. That's the next verse here. So this Narakasura, he thought he is impregnable, nobody can even do any harm to him. So he was acting atrociously. Then it so happened especially when the Indra became very defeated, then his mother's earrings were taken away. Then he goes to Brahma. Brahma, they again go to Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu says, go and ask Krishna. And there is Krishna in the earthly planet, you can go and talk to him. So then they all go to Krishna, Indra, and then they pray to him. And that time he happens to be the house of Satyabhama. So Satyabhama is the third queen, as we were referring to. And she also happens to be incarnation of Earth planet. And so she is Earth reincarnated, because always the Earth planet or Bhumi, she's always a consort of Krishna, especially Vishnu, especially. So we see the other sampradayas, Sri sampradayas, the most celebrated consorts of Lord Vishnu is one is Lakshmi, another is Bhumi, Bhumadevi. So Sri Bhu, they are the two different consorts of Vishnu, main consorts of Vishnu. So Satyabhama is the incarnation of Bhuma Devi. So she comes in order to assist Krishna, his pastimes. So she was the one who was cause of Krishna coming, because she went and appealed to Krishna, Vishnu. And then Lord Krishna comes, so she also becomes the consort of Krishna. She comes as a daughter of Satyajit, and then eventually becomes wife of Krishna. So when she hears Indra coming and begging Krishna that this Narakasura he did so many atrocious things, and even he disgraced mother Aditi. So that was not tolerable. So Satyabhama was furious. How can he do such a thing to Mother Aditi? She was so elderly and she needed to be protected. How can he even do such a thing? So immediately before even Krishna could reply, Satyabhama took the lead, saying that I'm going to go and make sure this demon is dead. And Krishna obviously had to follow suit. So both of them, they decided to help Indra, and Indra was pacified. Indra went back. So they both mount on Garuda. So, and they all go towards this Pragya Jyotishpura. Pragya means you cannot go inside. It's impregnable. So Pragya Jyotishpura means it's a very guarded city. That's what it means, the name means. Then they go to the city, and then Garuda defeats all the gates, all the different poisonous gas, electric gates, and the fire, everything. He goes through all of that, and nobody can impede it. So he comes into the city, and then he calls out for Narakasura to come and fight with him. So first to come was Mura. So Mura comes with all the army, everybody. There's a big fight ensues, and then the Mura is killed. So then Krishna gets the name Murari also through that. And then comes Narakasura himself. He steps out of his palace, and then he starts fighting with Krishna. And Krishna knows the secret behind Narakasura's the way to kill him. That is through his mother, which is Satyabhama. So he fights valiantly, but then at some point he faints that he is unconscious. And then immediately Satyabhama becomes enraged. How can even this happen? How can my Lord Krishna be made unconscious? This is not possible. So she becomes furious at Narakasura. She doesn't even reason what is happening. She becomes furious. And in the fury she starts fighting. And in the first arrow that comes out of her, it goes and kills Narakasura. So Narakasura is wondering what is happening. How can I even be hurt by any woman? That's impossible. This is something mysterious. So he finds out over a conversation between both of them. They find they are actually related as mother and son. Then so Daritri means earth planet. So she is given that name because she is Darathi iti Daritri, one who holds everything, who supports everybody. So Mother Earth supports everyone. So she is given the name Daritri. So she understands that actually Narakasura is her own son. Of course, she is the mother of everybody. in one sense, but Narakasura is her own son. So she definitely remembers that, and then she becomes extremely aggravated. Meantime, Krishna is waking up as if nothing happened. So he was kept feigning, he was unconscious, and he wakes up, and he's happy that it's all happened as per the plan. And Satyabhama was a little also upset by that this all happened like this. But she knew what is Krishna's purpose. Narakasura has to be killed. She knew that. Although that's why although she's a mother, but she also is. She knows what is right, what is wrong. But still, emotion sometimes takes over women. And that is why Prabhupada also insists that women should always be under the protection of an able man. So who is also knows what is right, what is wrong. So otherwise, both of them are equally mundane. Right? Man or woman doesn't matter. But a spiritual, anybody who's a devotee definitely gets his spiritual intelligence. That's very important. But in general, emotions sometimes takes over women. So it's Satyabhama was also very. She was feeling for her son, and then she appealed to Krishna that you should do something for my son. So Narakasura also was repentant about what he did. He did not do the right thing. He troubled so many devotees, Vaishnavas and Rishis and so many people. And he also disgraced Mother Aditi. So he was repentant, he gave everything back. Take all of these things back, and then please make me your devotee and make sure that my death becomes a lesson for everybody. That they all understand that all these people who are arrogant, people who are demoniac and against Lord Krishna, definitely going to meet the same end as me. And this should be celebrated, this day of my death should be celebrated as a victory of good over evil. And this should be celebrated as Deepavali or Diwali. This is another reason, Deepavali is, there are two reasons usually. One is the homecoming of Lord Ram, and in the south especially, it is South India, it is celebrated as Naraka Chaturdasi, day when Narakasura was killed. So these Narakasura's killing was a very special day because it is celebrated as a victory of good over evil. And so then in the next verse we see how, let me see how big is the purport. It's not a very big purport, so let me read this.
Can I just mention that I found that there is another name for that. It's Satya.
Satya.
Satya. Sometimes she's called as Navajiti, but her actual name is Satya. Krishna. Her father is the king of Koshala.
Koshala. Okay. Yeah, all these names, the kingdom names keeps coming in again. And Lord Rama's mother's Kaushalya was also from her kingdom is Kaushala. Kaushala's princess. So she is called Kaushalya. And Madri also happens to be the stepmother of Pandavas. But here also the Lakshmana is the princess of Mother Naresh. So she's also called Madri sometimes. So it's the kingdom continues. Gandhari, so many different names continues. Some of them are still extant today.
Well, like in Afghanistan, they refer to Kandahar.
Kandahar, yes.
Kandahar.
Yes. So many of those Puranic names still there in India. So many of like Kashi is there, and Mathura of course is there. All of these things are there from that time onwards. But some names have disappeared. And so that's the verse number 6. Do we have time for verse number 7? So 8, 10. Or if anybody has any questions, let me see. Any questions, any comments?
Well, also part of the battle with Indra was over the Parijata tree.
Oh yeah, that's the epilogue.
Because Krishna brought Lakshmi a Parijata flower, and she didn't just want a flower, she wanted the whole tree.
Correct. So that happens right after this. They go back to give the earrings of Mother Aditi, and that's when this Parijata flower was given to them. And then she says, "Why one flower? Let me
Made
take
a
the whole
tree."
tree." So,
And then you said, you can't do that. This is only for the heavenly realm, it's not the earth.
yeah, and Indra was just begging sometime back for
Yeah,
Krishna.
I'm so grateful, thanks for the.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, that's what happens.
That was great.
Or I think it was like this. So Indra's wives became enraged. in this
Oh,
case.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, so
And
it's
they prompted him to fight for their prestige, because Parijata is a heavenly tree and it cannot go to the earthly planet. And Krishna is taking it. So people are still in their own material conception of life, bodily conception of life. They think that Krishna is an earthling and they are somebody on the heavenly planets. It's all crazy. So we'll stop here if there's no...
Do you know how the Parijata flower look like?
Yeah, Parijata flowers in...
There's an orange
It,
tip.
it grows in tropical climate in
Yeah,
India.
someone brought some the
It
other
was here
day.
the other day.
Yeah, some
I
devotees
told New
from
Orleans.
New Orleans brought tons of those, and I mean, obviously I didn't want to smell it at that moment, but then after when I got some of the prasadam of it, oh my gosh.
It's
It
amazing.
grows in New Orleans. I didn't find out who did
Small flowers, right? Small
that. Yeah, very
flowers.
small with the orange tip. In the
It
bottom.
looks like the Malliga.
Yeah, yeah. Malika won't have white. I mean, it's all white.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
all
right.
tiny and delicate with the orange tip.
Yes,
Yes.
very delicate.
I saw it here.
Does it smell good? Does it smell good?
Not
Yeah,
smell
super.
that nice.
Yeah.
It
And
was
the
so
best part
nice.
of it is it actually falls down in the night.
Yes, you have to go pick it up in the morning.
You
I
have to
had
get
a
in the
tree
morning,
my
it'll all
house.
be there on the ground.
Yeah.
Pick them up.
Early morning you can go and pick it up. There's a tree in Mayapur also, and I had one in my house.
Nice.
I'd say you're not supposed to use fallen flowers.
But that one,
There's
that's the
certain
only one.
trees that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mora was also five-headed, had five heads, and he was living under
Yeah,
the
but that
water
flower you have to pick this
many,
one.
many years. It was
And it's
all
on the grass, you know.
shriveled up with that. And the gaseous
That's a
substances
flower.
were referred to as anellas.
What is this, sir?
That, there were different layers,
Yeah.
the electrical, which, it's interesting, there was electricity, it's not something new,
Yeah.
It grows in
And,
New Orleans, it can grow here.
but anilla was the gas, it was a name of gaseous substance,
Something
I see.
will
referred to
not
as anilla.
I see.
And there was actually
But it bloomed.
We're
a
actually.
disciple of Srila Prabhupada who was given that name.
You'll get so surprised. There's
And
some
he became,
New Orleans girl, which we never thought would go
Prabhupada.
anywhere in America.
Uh,
They are growing.
nice.
Some
Serious
surprise.
Yes. Grantara Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki
Jai.
Jai.
I don't know. But I think
Hare Krishna.
drumstick, I think.
Thank you for both.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh,
It's orange on the garland.
Yes, those are mock oranges though, I believe.
Okay.
Actually, Gaurav Kishore is the one.